When was the last time your school had a new initiative that actually stuck around? It's August. The all-staff professional development day is about to begin, and the head of school is excited. There's a new platform. Could be an LMS, could be a communication tool, could be an AI integration suite. It doesn't matter because the pitch is always the same. This is going to transform how we teach. There's a presentation with a vendor demo, a few enthusiastic early adopters asking questions. Most of the faculty is polite, although there's definitely some who are quietly grading in the back row. By October, half the staff has logged in probably once. By January, the early adopters are getting frustrated that nobody else is using the platform. By March, nobody even mentions it anymore. Don't worry, by the following August, there will be another new tool. We don't talk enough about what happens in between those failed launches. Somewhere in your school, there's probably a teacher right now who is testing out a new instructional tool. Not because anyone told her to, but because she saw how it might help a student. That teacher is your proof of concept, your signal that there's fertile ground in your school where new educational initiatives can grow. As long as you prepare the soil first. I'm John D'Adamo, and this is The School Doctor, a podcast where we diagnose the health of K-12 education and prescribe solutions so it can grow and thrive. Today, we're looking at why some learning tools take root, others don't, and we're talking about how to build a school where good ideas have room to grow. Let's make our rounds. If you've been around schools long enough, you've probably had a front row seat to the history of classroom technology. The overhead projector. That was a fun one. It was one of the first post-war tools to attempt to revolutionize the classroom. Then came the VCR-equipped TVs on large metal carts. Watched a lot of movies on those. Then we converted our libraries into multimedia centers and installed computer labs in every school. Let me tell you, I had a lot of oxen die of dysentery on that Oregon Trail. And do you remember the interactive whiteboard that nobody really used interactively? Or maybe after that you recall the one-to-one laptop program that actually just became a device management headache? Many of us experimented with the flipped classroom, especially when we were forced to learn how to Zoom during COVID. And now AI has arrived, changing everything once again. Each one of these arrived with the same promise, and each one followed the same curve. Enthusiastic launch, uneven adoption, quiet fade. What we miss when we tell that story as a tragedy is that some of those tools did actually take root in some of our schools. The technology that died in one building may have thrived in another, and the difference was never the platform, it was the conditions. Every one of these was a good tool. Most of them still are. Yet, every time a new tool arrives on the scene, we approach implementation the same way. We unveil it at a Ph.D. day, then we run a training session, maybe send a follow-up email with a link to some tutorial videos, and then ultimately we act surprised when adoption stalls out. I've personally seen this pattern from every angle. As a teacher being handed tools I didn't ask for, as an administrator rolling out platforms I truly believed in, and as a consultant in schools where the strategic plan lists technology integration as a priority, but the faculty can't even name the platform they're supposed to be using. I remember one occasion some years back when I visited a school. It was over the summer. At one point during the tour, the principal stopped, beaming, to show me a stack of brand new iPads she was planning to introduce that fall. Since they were obviously launching wireless technology across the building, I asked if I could log into the school's Wi-Fi with my own device. She turned to me, completely straight-faced, and asked, "What's a Wi-Fi?" That school was about to hand every student a wireless device, without anyone on the leadership team understanding the fundamental infrastructure that made it work. They learned the hard way that we have two simple choices for our technology initiatives. Either we plan before we implement, or we end up with expensive paperweights. Now, I've also seen the opposite scenario. I've been to schools where teachers are truly excited about a tool they adopted in the past year, where the conversation is, have you seen what the science department figured out to do with this? In those buildings, adoption happened because conditions existed for it to take root, not because someone mandated it. You see, training teaches you how to use a tool, but adoption happens when you believe the tool serves your teaching, that it helps students. Last episode, we touched on how self-efficacy and perceived usefulness predict whether teachers adopt new tools. Not their age, not the training hours we provide them, and sometimes not even their comfort level with technology. The teachers who believe that a tool will help their students learn will figure it out. Teachers who don't believe that won't adopt that tool, no matter how many PD hours you throw at them. The one-size-fits-all model of teacher training, it isn't a recent habit. It's actually almost 200 years old. In the 1830s, Horace Mann recognized that the quality of rural schools had to improve, and the teaching was the key to that improvement. Mann was instrumental in establishing the first normal schools, state-sponsored teacher training schools designed to professionalize teaching and prepare the next generation of educators. This standardized preparation in a 19th century industrial model was intended to produce uniform results. That assembly line logic made sense when the objective was to scale the teaching profession from the local to the state level. It makes far less sense in 2026, when every member of your faculty has a different level of experience and a different comfort level with technology and vastly different conceptions of what good teaching looks like. We inherited the one-size-fits-all instinct from Mann's era, and we've never really outgrown it. Instead of a factory assembly line, we should think of launching a new initiative as growing a garden. First, you plant the seeds. Then you tend them carefully, making sure that the soil has the nutrients and resources necessary for growth. You harvest the benefits over time, after a great deal of work that requires your hands getting dirty. To succeed, your initiative needs utility, self-efficacy, and time. We can dig deeper on those three conditions that ensure a successful tech initiative. First, someone, an administrator, department chair, a coach, could answer the one question that teachers actually care about the most. Why does this help my students learn? When I surveyed K-12 teachers who taught remotely during COVID, I learned that their attitudes about a tool's pedagogical usefulness were the strongest predictor of sustained use, more important than available resources, administrative mandates, or demographics. That myth of the digital native, that younger teachers are naturally better with technology, the data doesn't support that. The 25-year veteran and the second-year teacher demonstrated equal likelihood of adopting technology if they believed it served their students. Second point, teachers have to have permission to experiment and fail without consequence. They could try a tool for one unit, discover it didn't work for their context, and then that's treated as useful information rather than non-compliance. A teacher's technological self-efficacy, that's their confidence in using technology effectively, also shows significant impact on continued adoption. No one wants to feel like a failure about something, especially not at your job, least of all a teacher. That sense of technological confidence is something schools can help build. Well-designed professional learning builds teacher confidence, which in turn enables classroom experimentation. When teachers observe positive student impact, then that improves their attitudes about the tool's usefulness. Self-confidence leads to experimentation, which gradually shifts beliefs and attitudes. That's the pathway. You don't have to convince teachers that a tool is useful before they try it. You have to build their confidence enough that they're willing to try it, and then create conditions where they can discover the value themselves. Third point, we have to talk about teacher workload and time management, because every new tool requires time to learn, time to set up, time to integrate into existing workflows. That time has to come from somewhere. The teaching role has expanded steadily over the years beyond the day-to-day of classroom instruction. There's also planning, grading, parent communication, documentation, and evening events. New responsibilities are rarely offset by corresponding reductions elsewhere. When you add a new tool on top of all that, teachers do the math instantly, even if administrators don't. You can say it with me now. It's just one more thing. Before you demo a platform, before you sign a contract, before you schedule a PD day, identify the specific problem this tool is supposed to solve. Not in administrator language, in teacher language. This will help you spend less time on X so you have more time for Y. If you can't complete that sentence in terms a teacher would recognize, then you are not ready to launch. When we give teachers time for informal exploration with their peers, we find that it is successful. Don't give them sessions with the IT department or a vendor helpline, but provide them time with colleagues who are trying the same thing. The veteran English teacher who discovered a meaningful use for this AI platform says, "Here's what worked for me." That's more credible to skeptical colleagues than any outside expert. That teacher-to-teacher discovery is what spreads genuine adoption. And it produces real student impact. When those three conditions exist, utility, self-efficacy, and time, adoption happens organically. Not universally, not overnight, but realistically. Teachers stop asking, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And they start asking, "How could this work in my classroom?" That's when you know something has taken root and has the potential to grow. The schools that struggle with technology adoption, they don't prepare the soil before planting. Those schools jump to tools before building the conditions where tools can take root, investing in features when they haven't clarified the pedagogical purpose. The cost of repeated failed implementations goes deeper than wasted money. Every failed rollout creates what I'd call an institutional credibility deficit. Every failed implementation teaches your faculty something. It teaches them that the next initiative will probably follow the same arc, and that the safest response is patience. Wait it out, do the minimum, keep doing what was already working. This one will pass by just like all the others. And call that what it is, rational behavior, which is learned from institutional experience. The encouraging part is that it can work in reverse too. Every time your school follows through, every time a tool is still in use a year later, every time an initiative actually delivers on its promise, you're building institutional credibility. You're teaching your faculty that this time is different because the conditions are different. Teachers who sit in the back row during professional development and check out, they aren't resistant to your efforts. They're just responding to a pattern. Change the pattern and you change the response. And not with one successful rollout, but with a consistent institutional commitment to doing the preparation that makes success possible. I've seen this in practice at a middle school that was really thriving. The admin team wanted to update their LMS. Before purchasing a new product, first they surveyed the teachers about their issues and concerns. When that conversation prompted them toward a new technology-based solution, they knew they needed to follow up further with the faculty. When I spoke with the faculty, they shared how much they appreciated the inclusion in the process and the chance to share their comfort level, their concerns, and what they actually wanted to learn in a potential PD session. After they took all of these steps, the admin team was equipped to build an array of sessions that aligned to where each teacher felt most productive. An introductory session for those that were still forming their questions, an intermediate session for teachers who had experimented but wanted to refine, and an advanced session for the early adopters who were ready to push boundaries. I've checked in with the school since, and the satisfaction with the new LMS is still going strong. This kind of differentiation for teachers is true best practice. We talk constantly about differentiating instruction for students, meeting learners where they are, providing multiple pathways to the same objective. And yet we rarely apply that same principle to how we teach adults. The irony is that differentiation matters even more with adult learners. There's a whole separate field for this, actually. Andragogy, the study of how adults learn. The short version is that adults need to know why they're learning something. They need to draw on what they already know, and they need some choice in how they engage. Let teachers self-select content that seems relevant and useful to them. That choice itself, that agency, builds their ownership that adult learners need to be able to stay invested, and it ensures that the pace and the depth of each session matches the self-efficacy level of the people in the room. The math teacher needs to see how a tool helps students visualize calculus concepts or algebraic thinking. The English teacher needs to see how this tool is going to support revision without replacing student thinking. Generic, look at what this can do, demonstrations, they build awareness but not confidence. A 20-year veteran teacher sitting through the same introductory session as a first-year rookie is not just bored, she's receiving a signal that her experience doesn't count. When you reverse that, it changes everything else downstream. The traditional approach, again, buy the tool, then figure out the training. Ready, fire, aim. Instead, if you go through a research-informed approach, identify pedagogical challenges, design PD that builds teacher confidence, and then evaluate which tools might support that work. Teachers will experiment when they feel safe and confident. They'll go outside their comfort zone when they trust that failure won't bring negative consequences. You replace the monitoring mindset. Are you using that platform? How often are you logging in? With genuine permission. Try this for one unit. If it doesn't work for your practice, that's useful data. Tell us what happened. If you measure adoption by confidence, not by login rates, it can change the whole practice of your school. Your LMS dashboard can tell you who logged in, but it can't tell you whether teachers believe the tool helps their students. Replace platform metrics with human conversations. Do you feel more confident since we introduced this tool? Has this saved you time, or has it cost you time? Would you choose to keep using this if it was optional? Those answers tell you whether or not your implementation is working. They also tell your teachers that you care about their experience, not just their compliance. I have a challenge for you. Walk through your school building this week and think about the tools that are genuinely working in your spaces. Not the ones listed on the strategic plan, the ones teachers actually talk about. Ask yourself what made those work and what conditions were present, because that's your model. Then think about the tools and initiatives that have stalled over time. Find a teacher who was there when it launched. Ask one question. Whatever happened with that? Resist the urge to defend or explain. Just listen. Whatever they tell you is your diagnostic data, and it will tell you more about your institution's readiness for the next initiative than any vendor demo ever could. If you're an administrator planning a new rollout for next year, AI or otherwise, run through 3 questions before you begin. Have I identified the problem in language teachers would recognize? Have I designed the professional learning that builds confidence before I've chosen the platform? And what am I subtracting to make room for this? If you can answer all 3, you're tilling the soil and setting the conditions for sustained growth. Next time on The School Doctor, we're examining school data and asking an uncomfortable question. When we talk about a student's permanent record, do we have a full grasp of what that means in the digital age? And have we been ignoring some data security and student privacy issues that we'll regret later? If your school is working through technology adoption challenges, and if you want to build the conditions where good tools can take root, Educational Vitality Partners offers diagnostic consultations. Think of it as a partner for your institution's growth. Visit edvitality.org to learn more. I'm John D'Adamo, and this has been The School Doctor. Thanks for making rounds with me.